Such a pleasure to be joining you in the special show, Fight for Five, really. What a day it has been. As Rahul Gandhi finishes 1 year as the president of the Congress party, workers have gifted him a grand victory, it seems, in at least 2 states of Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. It seems like a photo finish as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned. The BJP failed to buck the revolving door trend in Rajasthan. Raji could not hold her fort. The BSP Jogi factor failed to scuttle Congress's chances in Chhattisgarh, and Team Rahul has managed a strong comeback in the Hindi heartland, it seems. Telangana, painted pink by TRS, as KCR's gamble of snap polls paid off, giving him a thumping majority, and looks like its Congress-smoke northeast as the Grand Old Party lost its last bastion of Mizoram, where Mizo National Front is all set to form the next government. State elections 2018, its impact in 2019, and the lessons to be drawn from here is our big topic of discussion and debate right here on the show this evening. Vineet Goenka, member and ex-national convener, co-convener of the IT cell BJP, joins us. Muhammad Khan represents the Congress party. Sagrika Ghosh, consulting editor of the Times of India, and Sunil Alag, commentator and founder of Scout Advisors. Thank you very much, each one of you, for being with us. But please keep your answers short. There is lots and lots of ground to cover and a lot of points to ponder about and talk through. Sagrika, it looks like the Congress finally has a reason to smile, and I think Muhammad Khan, who suddenly seems in a new avatar of sorts today. Muhammad, is there a change of look with this change of political fortunes? I'm not so sure, but before I come to you, let me go across to Sagrika. And Sagrika, what is the big takeaway? The Hindi heartland is disillusioned, but is it absolutely warming up to the Congress? I think, you know, exuberance there needs to be tempered. That's my take. What's yours?
It does, Supriya. I agree with you there, but a big day for the Congress. It's a breakthrough moment for the Congress. The patient who has been in ICU for the last 4 years has finally got some oxygen and has come out of the ICU. I think the kind of victory that the Congress has achieved in Chhattisgarh is impressive. It is going to form the government in Rajasthan. It looks as if it's going to form the government in Madhya Pradesh. So the Congress emerges now as the fulcrum of the anti-BJP alliance at the center. However, we must temper it with the fact that the Congress's alliance with the TDP in Telangana has come completely unstuck. There we have seen that the Congress TDP alliance, which was supposed to be the template for the Mahagathbandhan in 2019 at the national level, has not even been in the hunt and has been completely decimated by KCR. But I would say that this is a challenge for the Congress. But remember, going forward, Supriya, I have to say that now the Congress has a lot of hard work ahead. It's not there in the western states. It's only an alliance in the south. It is a Congress-Mukh northeast, as you correctly pointed out. So hard work ahead. It's not going to be enough to just keep harping on anti-Modi and anti-incumbency anymore. The Congress is going to have to come up with a program. For the BJP, the challenge is fairly severe now. It's facing shrinkage in the Hindi heartland. Its vote shares are dropping. Remember, 210 seats in North India. Out of that, the BJP won 102 in 2014. Can it repeat that? Since its vote shares have come down now in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, it's going to face that uphill struggle in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. And remember, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, you're not going to see a disorganized Congress. In Uttar Pradesh, you've got Mayawati and Akhilesh possibly in alliance. And they are much more on the ground, much more organized than the Congress was in Rajasthan, for example, where it's factionalism and division.
No, in
and
some sense.
of,
Sagrika, hold that thought there. All right. No, Sagrika, hold that thought there. I think you're right in saying that unlike a UP and a Bihar, absolutely, it's a big day for the Congress. You can't take away anything from them, and I will go across to the winner in just a bit. But I think just to point out to our viewers here, why is it that we are harping on these elections? Now, 3 of the Hindi heartland states, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh put together, contribute to 65 Lok Sabha seats. And at present, the BJP has won 62 of them in the 2014 Lok Sabha. So it's important to understand what this is going to do and mean for the national picture. But before I go across to Vineet Goenka and to Muhammad Khan, I will quickly take a question to Sunil Alag. And Sunil, I think markets are always wary. Investors are, you know, wary of coalitions. India Inc. had reposed a lot of faith in Mr. Modi. The average voter on the ground may have reposed a lot of faith, but today he stands a little disillusioned. And I think some of it also has to do with the fact that some really unreal promises were made. There was irrational exuberance. What about Indian industry? Is Indian industry waking up to a new reality that you may actually be staring at a non-Modi, non-BJP government in 2019? Are you prepared for that?
But actually, I don't think industry is quite prepared for what's going to happen in 2019. But if you try and analyze what has happened in the elections today, and that's the most important for the industrialists, I think basically Congress cannot gloat over their victory, and nor can BJP start saying, well, give all kinds of excuses. Both have a lot to learn from what has happened today as far as I'm concerned. And if you see what is happening at the moment is that if you talk about MP and you say, is it to do with the farmer fact that the farmer was not getting enough farmer distress? And then when you look at the way the votes have gone, BJP's won enough seats in the farmers and as well as Congress. Similarly, therefore, if you are looking at everything else, there's been 15 years of Shivraj Chauhan who was actually doing a good job, and it was bound to happen. But look, barring Chhattisgarh, the seats have actually, the people have won by 500 and 1,000 seats. So it's one way or the other. Now, when I was going around and just chatting with people, especially retailers and stuff like that, when I go around the market, because I advise a lot of companies when they sell their products, and almost all the retailers were saying that, look, the voter has become mature now, and they are going to vote for whoever they like in the state. And in the center, if there was an election today, it would still be Modi. Now there's still 5 months left for Congress to learn as well as BJP to learn. What industry will want is a stable government. They do not like Gathbandhans which last for 12 months and 15 months. Either way, industry is hoping, whether it's Modi or whether it's the Congress, it brings about some stability. And if Congress doesn't play the right kind of cards and BJP also does not learn from this, then I think India is in for a lot of trouble for the next 18 months when the 2019 election takes place.
Okay. So everybody
people
needs
are
to
not
draw
analyzing.
lessons from
It's
this.
the
But
youth
Vineet
of
Goenka,
today.
I think it's an obvious.
If you look at the way the millennials have voted.
Sunil, give me a minute. I will come to you. Give me a minute. I will come back to you. Vineet Goenka, I understand that. Give me a minute. I will come back to you. I said, Vineet Goenka, the point is that one can gloat over this and one will have to realistically look at this and introspect. I think from BJP's point of view, this is your day of introspection. There have been BJP spokespersons who've come on the channel and have been in denial, saying that this is not reflection of reality, this is just anti-incumbency. I hope you're going to be candid enough to admit that this is a vote against you. It may not be a decisive vote for the Congress in Rajasthan. It may be the same revolving door theory. But the reality is that the Congress is all set to form a government in 3 out of the 5 states that went to polls.
See, had we won all the 3 states, yet I would have said we learn from every win and every loss. So it is a leadership's role, and leaders always learn from both victory and as well as the loss. So we have to learn and we will have to introspect. That is true. But let us understand one by one every state. Rajasthan, it's a nature. There is a flip-flop every time there is a change in the government. Shivraj ji served 13 years and the total term of BJP was 15 years. And Raman Singh ji served for 15 years. I think once you have 3 terms consecutively, then you have to give them some credit to hold the bastion. And the fight which I am seeing in Madhya Pradesh for somebody to fight for 4th term in a democracy like India is very good. I would like to congratulate him even if he is defeated today. And let us see, Congress has been rooted out of Telangana and also in the northeast. So that's what I see the picture. I see a picture where voters are quite matured. Yes, we have to take some lessons, we have to take some pinch of salt. But at the same time, it is not a cakewalk. And if you see, there are problems in Congress in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh. There are multiple names coming up. How will they hold their fort? So we have a firm leadership. We have given reforms. Reforms many times are not liked by people. But I say that in the long term, a statesman like Narendra Modi ji, when he introduces GST and he introduces demonetization, that gives you a broader taxpayers net. That is what India Inc. looks for. That is going to make this economy a great economy, not the jumlas and what the things which have been given by other people. I would rather believe in Modi ji yet. And I'll tell you one more thing. 2 battles lost does not mean the war is lost. Okay. We are fighters, we are politicians, we actually see every battle as one day's chapter and we prepare for the next one. Had I won all the 3 elections, plus I would have got some very good victory in Telangana, yet tomorrow morning I would have got up, tightened my shoes, I would have pulled my strings and I would have worked.
And not the war, but let me take this across to Congress, and I think Mohammad Khan, after a while on national television, the Congress will have something to smile about. First up, in 10 seconds, tell me, what is this new look all about? Is this coinciding with change in fortunes?
Well, there is the birth of a resurgent Congress, so I figured that this is the appropriate time for a change in personal appearance as well. One move befitting of the new Congress. But I would say the following to Goenka Sahab.
Very quickly.
I would say the following to
Mohammed, one second. Mohammed, I have a direct question for you. Mohammed, I have a direct question for you.
Yeah.
And my question, Mohammed, is,
yes,
Mohammed,
yes.
because you're a winner doesn't mean you're going to outshout me. So listen to me now. I have a direct question for you. You won, you're winning Madhya Pradesh, you won Chhattisgarh, you won Rajasthan.
There's a lag.
I have been speaking to a lot of very senior Congress people, and they say the results are not what they were expecting. They were expecting to do even better. Where did you fall short?
Yeah. Well, the answer to your question is as follows. I think we worked very, very hard on the ground. And as you began by saying, no one can take that away from our leaders. It was a campaign, a very focused campaign, a very driven campaign where we identified issues and took them to the people. We found that these issues resonated. We spoke about farmers' issues in Mandsaur, around Indore, and other parts of rural Madhya Pradesh. We spoke about tribal rights in Chhattisgarh. My leader Rahul ji is completely familiar with the price of wheat, jowar, bajra in states like Madhya Pradesh. Whereas our Prime Minister went and spoke about the Gandhi family, Christian Michel, and he spoke about how he was being made a victim. The answer to your question is this. Of course, we could have done better, and we do hope we do better. This is time for us to learn from our strengths and also learn where we are weak. You must also give us credit for the fact that we fought against a machinery that prides itself on doing nothing other than winning elections. They threw every trick in the book at us, right? They outspent us 95-1 by their own admission. They had
one thing that I have to say, Mohammed,
they had a massive lead.
No, Mohammed Khan.
Yeah.
I think as an independent journalist, Sagarika and I'm presuming Sunil Alag will join our tribe. I think the one thing that we've got to say is that let us stop doubting the fairness of Indian elections. I mean, people have voted. Let's stop blaming the EVMs and one is found here on the road, somebody's house. You won. Be gracious in your victory, and let us not go back to doubting elections whatsoever in this country. The people of this country teach politicians a lesson. They've taught a lesson to the BJP. You may be at the receiving end as well. But let me go across to to Sagarika. And Sagarika, these elections when they were fought, and I agree with both Vineet Goenka and Mohammed Khan. There is some truth in the element of truth in what they're saying. But these elections when they were being campaigned had a very, very vitriolic political discourse. But the situation on the ground and the vote is very different. And there is a lesson to be learned for the political class. This election, if you ask me, more than any other, has been about the economy. The voter is almost telling both the BJP and the Congress, we don't care about your Gotra, we don't care about your religion. We actually even don't as yet care about the Ram temple. Give us a job, give us gainful employment.
That's very well said, Supriya. I think that is the learning from this election. I think there was a poll that was made that showed that in the 69% of the places where Yogi Adityanath was campaigning, actually the BJP went down in those particular seats in these 3 states. So I think, while we must appreciate that Shivraj Singh Chauhan, very popular leader, and Vineet Goenka is absolutely right, 3 terms is not a joke. And the fact that he's, put up a fight even at the end of 3 terms shows the popularity, the unassuming quality that he has. He's very well loved across Madhya Pradesh. And if he is to exit, then he makes a very, very graceful exit as Chief Minister. And he deserves a big pranam and a salam from all of us. But I do believe that the one thing that has to be learned is that Ram Mandir is not going to work. And the kind of divisive language we saw, Supriya, you and I have done shows on this, use of the word Vidva by the Prime Minister, Yogi Adityanath saying, Ali and Bajrang Bali, and then, I will throw OAC out of India if I come to power in Telangana. I mean, what kind of language is this? What kind of language? Who has the right to tell another political leader, I will throw you out of India if I win an election? So this kind of politics is simply not working. I don't think that Ram Mandir and Gotra and Janeo and all that is going to work anymore. I think the voter is sending out a very, very strong signal that there are bread and butter issues on the ground. There's a real issue with farm distress. There's a real serious issue with unemployment. And that is what the parties are going to have to look at. Also for the Congress.
Sagarika, give me a minute. I want to go across.
Anti-Modi anymore. They have to find a agenda.
Precisely, exactly. I think people will ask, what's your agenda? Sagarika, give me a minute. I think people at some stage will ask the Congress party, it's all right to do anti-Modi, but what's the agenda? I will go to the Congress in just a bit, but I will go across to Sunil Alagh because he made a very important point that nobody is talking about the youth of this country. And Sunil, my own sense is that the youth of this country is trying to tell you, is giving a message. And I think politicians across the spectrum are missing that message. The message is an aspirational revolution. Mr. Modi whetted the appetite for aspirations in 2014 when he gave us all a hope. And that is what India voted for. Those hopes have been dashed. This is a disillusioned India that's, that changes its mind very fast. And it's telling you, you did not create the jobs for us. You did not get us the economic prosperity that we wanted. And you know what? We are not going to stand behind you. Is that the message? And is that supposed to be read loud and clear?
You're absolutely right, because if you look at Madhya Pradesh, the millennial population, one other channel was analyzing, they've actually won about 10 or 12 seats. That's a hell of a lot, because there are going to be 100 million voters next year who will be voting for the first time. And I hate to say this, for them, corruption is not the first thing on the agenda. It is. For them, it's jobs. It is really employment. If you give the youth employment in India, I think then everything else falls into place, whether it's corruption and everything else. But if you keep on harping on religion and corruption, and no matter what it is, the youth don't care today. And that's what people and governments have to realize. The second most important thing that's coming up for the BJP to learn is that, look, when you have youngsters, when I say youngsters, they're not youngsters anymore, Sachin Pilot, Kamal Nath, Jyotiraditya Scindia, all these are new leaders. You cannot rely on one person, Mr. Modi, alone. Each state has to bring about its own leadership now. And that is also coming through in these elections. Look, I mean, you might give credit to Rahul Gandhi, but actually the people who worked on the ground are people like Sachin Pilot and Jyotiraditya and Kamal Nath who've actually made it happen. And of course, the credit goes to the leader. But, the same mistake was made by Indira Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi at a point of time when they were running India, and each state was really dummies who ran it as chief ministers. Now, BJP must not make that same mistake, and neither must Congress get carried away that Rahul Gandhi is the guy. He's not the guy as yet, and therefore both parties will have to learn. Yes. They have to look after the youth, and they must allow leadership to emerge. And two things are very clear in this election.
Okay, Sunil, fair point. Vineet Goenka, a direct question to you, and the question is Mandir an issue with diminishing returns? The fact that you wanted to change the name of Hyderabad, the fact that Owaisi should be thrown out, I mean, these are not issues that are giving you returns in any case. You've been very, very dismal, at least in the state of Telangana, where Mr. Yogi Adityanath was your election mascot. He was supposed to be this next big thing who was going to get you votes. You're not doing well there. And the other question that I want to ask you is, are you a little worried about the Prime Minister's inability to be able to turn around an election that he could up until Gujarat? Gujarat, there was an anti-wave, and still that election could be turned around just by the Prime Minister being on the ground.
See what happens, victory always have 10th father, and when you lose, then there are 10 people to point out what mistakes went on. But let me take you through some facts. There were firm decisions been taken the last 4 years which were not seen. Prevention of Money Laundering Act, then the extradition of Michelle Christian, then the win in the court of UK. Now, these all messages go into the urban area. But at the same time, MSP, then there may be e-Mandi or the logistic support to the farmers go into the rural area. Yes, we have lost 2 states, and probably the 3rd state will be finalized in the next 1 hour or 2 hours time. But at the same time, let me not say, reduce the Ram Mandir issue. Congress actually copied this chapter of ours in Madhya Pradesh, store the chapter, and they did the same thing. They wore Janev, they talked about, Rampath, they talked about Goshalas, and that were probably given them the vote. So my argument may be on the other side. They actually stole our chapter. The only thing is, in the next 5 months, what we have to do is bring out to the people's notice of the good things which we have done. That may be road, that may be giving of gas connections, that may be toilets which we have been given, open defecation free country which we have given, maybe the pride which is there when you extradite some fugitive from there. And also, let me warn, Congress is actually happy right now. Bringing back of this fugitive called as Michelle, and also the victory of Vijay Malaya, probably the news around the leadership of Congress is tightening up, because he is going to name some names.
I called it a political, this is why I call it a political move when you got him here. And my sense is that preempting an investigation is not what I'd like to do on the show here. But anyways, I will go across to Mohammad Khan. I don't want to bring up Christian Michel and Vijay Mallya into this discussion. I will bring up something else a little later. And I think Vineet Goenka, you'll have to answer a question there. Mohammad, I think the point that you need to answer is, it's good you won today. I think it's anti-incumbency and many of the factors that have contributed to your victory. You know, and Vineet Goenka is right, at least on one account completely, that a victory has 10 fathers and you know, failure is often an orphan. But the reality is that people are now going to turn around and ask you, what is your alternative agenda? How are you? Because the same people who are disillusioned with the BJP today will ask you, how are you going to create those jobs? What are you going to do for our employment? And do you have answers is what the big concern and worry is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. In fact, as I began by saying, this entire election, we identified and focused on issues. The method with which we prepared our manifesto, जब हमने अपना घोषणा पत्र तैयार किया, उस दौरान भी सुप्रिया हमने लोगों से बातचीत करके बनाया. And then Rahul ji declared that you will have to submit a report card every year on how far you have managed to achieve the promises we made in this manifesto. We were all required to familiarize ourselves with what it is that we are promising the people. So we are all acutely aware of what we have promised the people. Our priorities will always be farmers, jobs for the youth. Our priorities will be empowering women. Our priorities will be to bring about a more transparent and effective regime, strengthening our institutions. These have always been the Congress priorities. And you cannot say, please, I would again and again say that, please don't compare us to the BJP. This is a government that has failed. Today is a day to be gracious. If Mr. Goenka is not going to be so, but I feel we must at least. I think that today is a day when we have a lot to learn, of course, as you began by saying. But you cannot take away from the fact, you cannot take away from the fact that the Congress has indeed demonstrated that several of the narratives put forth by the BJP were unfounded. The narrative of hateful divisiveness, which they're still reluctant to give up, the narrative of targeting a family, all of that.
It's not as if you are not talking the same communal narrative. You're also going to temples and things like that. Mohammed, give me a minute. I will go across to Sunila. Again, Sunila, I think the one big concern that economic participants and markets and everything where he is,
and churches,
that this could lead the government. Very good. I'm just saying that faith is something that you should practice within the four walls of your house. Why do you have to make such a show about it? I also pray. I don't have to pray on national television and the gods that I practiced before. But Sunila, I will ask you this question. The concern in in the minds of a lot of people is what happens from here on? A government that has so far restrained blatant populism, could it give in to the temptation? And will things from here get to a point where there could be irresponsible spending? And especially given the fact what we have seen happen in the last 24 hours, a man who resisted excess liquidity, a man who resisted reserve transfer and all of that has quit and gone. So you have a situation where the government of the day has to appoint a new governor, where the government of the day may be able to get its, what it wanted out of the RBI. And you also have a certain amount of concern on, is the government going to be tempted to open the spigots on spending? And how reckless could that really be?
I think one will not be able to predict absolutely. They are going to get a little populist before 2019. It cannot be any other way. Now, I hope they don't do it to an extent where you get to a situation where it becomes very difficult for the economy to recover. But it will happen. It happens when Congress was in power. It will happen when BJP is in power. 6 months are left for the final elections. It will become populist. But the point remains, as far as I'm concerned, is that almost all political parties, when they come to power, they talk about women's rights, they talk about farmers, they talk about everything. Execution is going to be very important now, because whether it's the BJP or the Congress, they all said the same thing. Look, we are going to look after the farmers, we're going to look after the poor, we're going to look after the middle class. Where the disillusionment comes in is the execution. So everybody is going to watch, is the Congress capable of executing? Is the BJP failed in some areas? What was wrong with the BJP, if you ask me? They did the macro analysis right, where I think the mistake was made that they thought they were there for 10 years. So let's take some global policies which are going to run out in the next 5 years. The people don't have the patience anymore. The people want to see something, what's there for me. The middle class that you talk about in urban areas are all asking this question. You might have done X, Y or Z, but I have not got anything in my pocket. And the poor are asking the same thing. So some measures will be micro. I do not think they'll be doing any other thing other than getting populist. But maybe the soberness of the government is what everybody will look at. That look, let's not get into a ridiculous state where you're giving everything away free, because the long term somebody is going to pay for it. And I just hope that it will just be populist enough, like all other governments when the last year comes in. And they'll have to take care
very
of
quickly,
that.
And I have to ask you a question
must take care of the people.
Absolutely, you should. I don't know if you should do that in the quest of votes. That's the big question. But all political parties have been accused and blamed for it, and I'm presuming the BJP will think, why should we be an exception? They've so far shown remarkable restraint. I hope they continue to will. But Sagarika, the question also is that what happens to political landscape, political dynamics from here on? You know, up until now, the Congress party was written off. It seems there is a revival of the Congress in the Hindi heartland. It's too early to say they will be able to be a significant player in Bihar. At UP, of course, you were rightly pointing out that SP and BSP are the main operators. Congress will perhaps have a better leverage with them. And so that is what the question is, that what does this do to the anti-Modi bloc? My own sense is there's never going to be this pan-India anti-Modi bloc, but even within states, you know, are there going to be specific duels, A, to begin with, and B, eventually in 2019, if the situation does arrive at that, can Congress on the back of these victories and going forward, you know, claim the position of being the fulcrum of an anti-Modi alliance, an anti-Modi bloc?
Yes, Supriya, you're absolutely right. I think the Congress now can be the fulcrum of the anti-Modi bloc, because had the Congress been wiped out in these three Hindi heartland states, then of course the Congress would have been ruined. But now what's happened is, I wouldn't characterize it as a revival of the Congress, because I think that the Congress has benefited from the long anti-incumbency in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. But I do think, as I said, the patient is out of the ICU. And I think the political balance of power has got corrected. You know, as Democrats, you and I want to see a strong government. We also want to see a strong opposition. And I think that the skewed balance of power, where only one party or one formation was dominating and the other was completely annihilated, has somewhat been corrected. I think the invincibility of Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah has been dented. Earlier, the feeling was that this was an invincible team. It simply could not be defeated. But it has now been defeated. That team has been defeated. The invincibility myth is over. But on the other hand, I would say, Supriya, that, you know, when we're talking about a Mahagathbandhan, there are too many internal contradictions. You know, we've already seen that the alliance between Congress and TDP in Telangana has been wiped out. It's not worked at all. Now, yesterday, the opposition leaders were meeting in Delhi, but as you saw, Mayawati wasn't present, and nor was Akhilesh Yadav. Now, is Arvind Kejriwal going to tie up with the Rahul Gandhi? Is Mamta Banerjee going to tie up with the left? So I don't think there can easily be a national Mahagathbandhan. I think there are going to be lots of Gathbandhans, but they're going to be all at the state level. And I think a post-poll is what we are looking at, where perhaps a kind of a coalition can be stitched up. But for the moment, a Mahagathbandhan pre-poll between parties is looking difficult, because with the coming, with the fall of the Congress TDP alliance in Telangana, I think the prospect of a Mahagathbandhan at the national level has taken a bit of a beating.
Precisely. No, you're right there. You're right about a Mahagathbandhan at a national level. I never thought there was going to be one, but you know, you're right. There will be these state coalitions, and maybe after elections people can get together. But Vineet Goenka, the point that I think Sagarika and I are really alluding to is the importance of allies. And at least in your camp, there seems to be some trouble in that paradise. First, it was the TDP that not just left you, went and joined the Congress against you in Telangana, against KCR and all of that. And now, of course, you have Mr. Kushwaha pull out. You know, we be given to understand Akali Dal has not been in the best of terms. Shiv Sena every now and then criticizes you. I'm saying in an election that you would want to win 2019, ally management is going to be the key. And the flip side of your ally management is that you have some trouble in that paradise. You would perhaps need more allies than upset them.
So let me answer one part which Sagarika was talking about. This is not the first defeat which we have seen in the last 4.5 years. We have seen Punjab. We tasted bitter thing in Delhi and as well as some part in the Bihar also. So every time when we have some kind of defeat, we bounce back. That's our DNA. Our DNA is to get up in the next day, whether we win or get defeated, and fight back. So that's our DNA. A. B. Forget about our Gadbandhan or the allies, we will manage them. The leadership is very, very firm, everybody is together. Some people who have left, they have not made any mark. Let us talk about Chandrababu Naidu, he has not made any mark in Telangana. But I am worried about Congress's Gadbandhan. Now, till yesterday, Mayawati was talking to them in a different tone. Today, she is talking to them in a different tone. The moment they have won 2 states, probably Mamta ji is more worried today because now she will not get her dues in West Bengal. How would she deal with communists? How would AIDMK be dealt with? How would they will deal with the other members in other states? So I think probably they have more difficulty. But here, today is a day when I would go back and decide how do I communicate what all we have done for the country. How do I bounce back my Karyakartas? Probably my priority will be to bring my Karyakartas together and tell them how to communicate what has been done for this country. And as far as Rahul Gandhi ji go, I think probably he is a no match as a Prime Minister for Modi. So that's a different ball game. Winning 2 states. I'm remembering the Ramayana. You know, Lakshman murchit हुए थे, मरे नहीं थे. अंत में तो जीत राम की हुई थी.
Now once again, but Mohammad Khan, I have to ask you a question, and that question will have to be on allies and alliances, and of course a question on why you're laughing, and the question has to be on what happens, because I think the one point that we didn't discuss, and I will quickly have to close this with you know, a last answer from you. It isn't just about aspirations or jobs, it's also about the agrarian stress, the agrarian distress that the economy is seeing, and that seems to have completely missed the national discourse.
Okay, so the reason I was laughing is because of the absurdly delusional statements of Goenka Sahab. Goenka Sahab, it's very simple. Say that, just congratulate the victor and say you will introspect. It's as simple as that. You don't need to pontificate or get into a political campaign here. Number 2, I think, Supriya, come on. You have to give the Congress credit for the fact that when people said in Madhya Pradesh you made a big mistake by not allying with Mayawati, no, just hear me. Now, when you said in Madhya Pradesh that we made a mistake by not allying with Mayawati, we persevered. In Chhattisgarh, people said we made a terrible mistake by not allying with Mayawati again there. Again, we persevered. In Rajasthan, there were people leaving us, there were people joining, etc. We were vastly outspent. Despite all of that, you have to take into account that the Congress's victory is indeed the sign of a changing times. I'm not saying, Supriya, by no means that suddenly this will go to our heads and we will change. Of course not. The Congress way is we make our country better. And we have gotten into alliances to prove that. And I'm telling you and your viewers, if they go back and watch Rahulji's speeches or the speeches of our leaders, all our leaders, you will see that ultimately they did focus on issues. It was all about issues for us.
Fair point. Okay, I will have to close the show here. Thank you very, very much, if I may, to the entire panel here. It's a good day for, I think, the political class to sit back and reflect what happened in these elections, what went right, what had gone wrong, and where the course correction needs to be. And you know, a humble request there to the political class, whether it's the BJP or the Congress, there is a message that the Indian electorate is giving you. Whether these are farmers under debt burden, whether these are Indian youth without jobs, or whether these are distressed traders, they're giving you a message there. Please listen to that message. They really don't care what your, mine, our collective gotra is. They don't care which temples they need to pray before, because they've got these small little temples in their own houses. They don't care how many temples you go and visit as an opposition leader. What they care about is development. If you can deliver on that, trust me, they will once again repose their faith in you. If you can't, they will throw you out. That is what democracy is all about. Thank you very, very much, Vineet Goenka, Mohammad Khan, Sagarika Ghosh, and of course, Sunil Alak, for joining us on this edition of a very special show on Indian elections. Fight for 5.